Welcome, my Love Light Lifers. Natty T here, your vibrational coach, and I help artists, freelancers, and entrepreneurs create using the law of attraction. Today, we are talking about 3 ways to know if your manifestation is close. Okay? This is a really interesting one, and one that I've often thought about, and I've done a lot of experimenting with. We're going to get into those in just a moment. But I have some very good news. I'm going to be offering a free vibrational coaching session. Very soon, I'm going to be running a competition to win a vibrational coaching session, a personal one-on-one with me. If you're interested in that, make sure that you subscribe, hit that bell so that you can be notified when that competition starts running. For now, we're going to get into this. Here's the thing, if you want to know if your manifestation is close, there are ways that you can tell pre-manifestation how close you are. Now, it may not be obvious physically. We've all had those instances where you think things are close and it turns out to be another dud, another false alarm. And then other times we don't see it coming. It seems to come out of nowhere and all of a sudden what we want is here. And we didn't even know. However, when you're trying to create deliberately, you kind of want to know if you're close or if you're far away. Because the journey in between, I want it and I very much don't have it, and I wanted it, now I've got it. That's the journey, that's the gap we're wanting to close, but that gap is a vibrational gap. And once you start to understand the vibrational indicators of how close you are to what you want and how far away from what you want you are, that came out wrong. How far away you are from what you want. Once you can tell those things, it's a little easier to be able to quantify your journey, and therefore it's not as hard to manifest because you're not worried about, am I close? Am I far away? Am I moving toward it? Am I not? So let's take a look at our first way to know if you are close to your manifestation. And that thing is, number 1, you stop obsessing. That thing that you really, 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 really want is most likely on your mind a lot. And you will start to notice if you become a little bit mindful of how you're feeling about these thoughts, how you're feeling about this thing that you're obsessing over, the vibrational indicators of the manifestation. What you'll actually likely find is that when you're obsessing about it, when you're thinking about it all of the time, it's because you're feeling the lack of it, okay? It's because you are very aware that you do not have it. You are very aware that it is not in your life. And when that awareness, when you look in that and focus in that direction, you are telling the universe, I don't have this thing, I don't have this thing, I don't have this thing. Where is this thing that I don't have? Where is this thing that I don't have? Over and over again. You may completely feel worthy of it. You may think that it's right for you to have it. However, the universe is just hearing, I don't have it, I don't have it, it's not here, I don't have it. And it's matching you up with that. So instead, when you start getting close to the actual physical manifestation of it, you start to feel the presence of it in your life. And you don't feel like you need to think about it all the time, work on it all of the time, shift your vibration on it all the time. You actually just feel like it's there already. And you may not notice this happening to yourself, but just before you get something, you know you're about to get it. You know that it's not only possible that, if you're getting an award, if you're aware of this particular process of how it feels leading up to your manifestation, you know if you're going to get the award. You've heard people say it all the time. You probably said it yourself. I knew I was going to get it. I knew it. I knew it was mine. I knew it. Then there are other times where you're like, I didn't even see that coming. Why? Because first of all, you weren't aware or mindful of the way it was feeling leading up to it. You weren't looking for the feelings that would confirm or deny whether or not you were going to get it, mainly because you probably didn't know they were there. But that's okay. The fact of the matter is you didn't see it coming because you weren't focused on it. And you weren't focused on it because you weren't obsessed with it. And you weren't obsessed with it because you were feeling the presence of it, even though you didn't acknowledge that you were. You didn't feel like it was missing. So you didn't feel like I need to make up for the feeling I'm not getting by thinking about it. Okay, I want love in my life. Well, thinking about love all the time and trying to manifest your perfect person isn't the part where it's probably a very necessary part of your manifestational process. It might help you a lot, but that's not the part where you're close. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying don't visualize, but you don't need to do all of that stuff, number one. However, it does help people to hone in on what they want. But I'm telling you, once you get to that point where you stop thinking about it, you stop resisting it. And when you stop resisting it, that's when it starts coming. So long as there's no sort of underlying resistance there, it's going to come to you. Okay? Number 2, next thing that we want to talk about when it comes to is your manifestation close. This will also tell you if you are close. Number 2, you feel good when you think about it. Okay, this probably comes before the obsession thing. When you are still thinking about it, you kind of feel good about it. Okay? Not just kind of, you just do. In other words, if I was to say to you, how do you feel about, say you're a 10-year-old kid and I said to you, how do you feel about McDonald's for lunch? Say that to any 10-year-old kid. How do you feel about McDonald's for lunch? They'd be like, yes! Why? Because they want McDonald's for lunch. They probably weren't thinking about McDonald's before. But the thing is, when presented with the idea of McDonald's for lunch, they're excited because they believe they're going to get McDonald's for lunch. And the difference between belief and expectation, knowing. People talk about belief all the time, and I feel like I really need to push that there are more permanent states of being than just belief. I believe in it. There is knowing, and then there's expectation as well. Okay, getting to a point of expectation, it's like the kid always believed he could have McDonald's for lunch. There's nothing stopping him. However, now that you've said, hey, would you like McDonald's? He's expecting it. And so when you're thinking about your manifestation, when somebody says to you, how about $1 million? Do you go, yeah, right? Or do you go, don't talk to me about that? Or, oh, that reminds me, I've got to pay that bill. Or do you actually get excited and go, okay, let's do this? Do you expect it to happen? Or are you just trying to convince yourself into belief? Are you trying to believe? I'm trying to believe. And it's the vibrational difference between belief, knowing, and expecting is very, very slight. You have to sort of practice it to know what the differences are. But in practicality, to know how to get from belief to expectation, it's just momentum. You believe enough, you'll just know it. It'll become true to you. Once it's true to you, you just expect it. It's just time. It's just stacking on time. You don't do anything different than believe what you did to get to belief. You just do it more. And that's why, even though sometimes you can shift a belief, yet you don't see the physical evidence of it, and then you go back to the old belief because you're like, no, I'm believing the wrong thing here. Okay, so there is that little shift that has to happen at the end. So let's look at number 3. This is a really important one. You've stopped trying. This is not the same as giving up. I give up, it's never going to happen. Don't get me wrong, sometimes this serves its purpose, but it's never intentional. This is creating by default, okay? When I say you've stopped trying, what I mean is that you feel that it's inevitable. This is the expectation part, okay? I believe that I'm gonna make $1 million, okay? Your belief also might be that this business I'm creating is what's gonna make me my $1 million. So you stop trying to make your $1 million and you just do your business. In other words, you're not trying to get to $1 million. You are simply doing the things that you enjoy, which also happen to line up with the belief of where your $1 million is coming from. And this is really, really big distinction. When we're talking about red flags, we're talking about when you're really, really trying. When you say to yourself, it's not fair, I do so much, I should have this. When you start telling yourself that all of the actions you're doing cause you to deserve whatever it is, please understand, number 1, you've got it wrong. Number 2, you are trying too hard, and that is why you're not getting it. That's why when you look over at the person who is getting it and you're like, it's not fair, they didn't do everything that I did. How many times have you heard someone say that? How many times have you said it? How many times have you thought it? That person made it look so easy. It seemed so easy, yet here I am slaving my guts out and not getting anywhere. Why? Because it works the opposite way than you think it does. The harder you try, the further you get vibrationally. Because if something is not present, you have to try. If something is present, you don't have to try. You are affirming to the universe with your effort, this thing is hard to get. Getting back to a core belief, you can go completely core belief on this mofo and just start to believe that everything that you want is on its way to you. Something very general and blanketed like that can help, but shifting core beliefs takes quite a bit of time and effort because they're core beliefs. They're right in there in your psyche. But this is really, really important. When you stop trying, these things you can actually go and have a look if you've got a pretty good memory and you can remember some of the manifestations that you've done in the past. You may not have been doing it on purpose, but you will notice that when you gave up, that's when the thing came. Why? Because you stopped offering negative thought about it. And I don't mean negative as in bad, I mean negative as in the opposition to supporting it. When you stopped thinking about it altogether, you stopped offering those thoughts that were against the acquiring your desire. You stopped thinking about the things that said you couldn't have it. You stopped feeling bad about not having it. And so therefore you just started doing something else. And when you started doing something else, all of a sudden, bang, ta-da, here is your thing. And you're like, wow, well, guess what? I don't want it anymore. That's why I stopped thinking about it. That's why I stopped noticing the absence of it. So just understand that there are ways for you to feel your way into your manifestation and know that it's close. When it's really big stuff like making $1 million and, you know, buying your dream home or new car, new yacht, want an island, doesn't matter. You will know you're close when these things start to happen. Now, please understand that if you have core beliefs that are in the way, they can sometimes be these invisible blockers, okay? Sometimes we don't believe that we are able to own an island, yet we love to think about it, and every now and then, and when we do think about it, we feel good, but there may be a core belief that goes against it. That's why you should always have a blanketed, a ongoing, a momentum grasping, the words for it, something, a practice, a law of attraction practice that is consistent. In other words, what you think every day is what you're going to cultivate as your point of attraction, who you are every day. You can't just do these things one day and then just think that they're going to make a difference and your life will be changed. These are things that you have to exercise into place. They become part of who you are. In other words, who you want to be is who you've got to become. You can't keep being who you are and attract the things that who you want to become is attracting. So make sure that you do have a consistent practice going as well. But other than that, this is how you know if your manifestation is close. I hope you've found this of some use to you today. And I will see you tomorrow.